Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Monday. Alondra Villarreal and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. First real full work week in a little bit here. You had your Christmas, and then your New Year's. We got a full 5 days here. We got to get to work, so I hope yours is off to a good start. We have got a ton to get to. Wanted to go out to L.A., to SoFi Stadium, and get a preview boots on the ground. So Scott Rabelais from The Advocate is there covering the national championship game. Just wanted to get his thoughts on what he will watch tonight inside SoFi Stadium. We'll certainly preview Georgia and TCU. Got a lot to talk about with the New Orleans Saints. We'll do that in the next segment. NFL stuff. LSU adds a couple of corners. So plenty to get to over the next 2 hours. I talked with Charlie. Sometimes when you got shows that are back-to-back, you want to be sure that you vary your topics a little bit. Don't want to have the same guest or anything like that. And he said, yeah, I'm going to spend most of the day on the Saints, which he did. And I said, all right, that'll be a lot of fun. Well, I'm going to do a lot of LSU basketball, or at least I am going to start. And that's not going to be very much fun either. So a lot of not fun stuff here that Charlie was talking about that I'm going to get into here. And we'll probably have a little bit of not fun stuff to talk about with Taylor Sharp a little bit later, as his Cowboys were atrocious yesterday, as he laughs in the background. But LSU basketball on Saturday just sucked. It was awful, awful to watch for so many reasons. And this is going to happen over the span of an 18-game schedule, so I'm not shocked that it happened. It didn't make it any more enjoyable. You got absolutely whipped from start to finish. A team that is not very talented and has had a bad year straight up did whatever they wanted against you. Their game plan was carried out perfectly. Buzz could not have drawn it out on a whiteboard any better than what it showed up on Saturday, and LSU just had no counterpunch. It was really, really rough to watch. 69-56 was the final. So I'll kind of go through it chronologically and give some big picture thoughts on what I saw. Obviously, we had talked about on this show that Juice Hill's numbers in the first two SEC games were troubling, to say the least. His minutes had been cut a little bit. He had turned it over a couple times, was not able to shoot a high percentage at all, was just really ineffective. So they see that, and they're going to go with Trey Hannibal, who's been a little bit better. So Hannibal starts in the place of Juice Hill. And Texas A&M comes out in a 1-2-2 press. Not anything innovative, not anything that LSU's never seen before, not anything you can't prepare for. And LSU, to me, looked very lazy against this defense. Now, if you've paid attention to me over my time on the airwaves, I very rarely say teams come out flat or lacked energy. That, to me, is sometimes overstepping your boundaries. Sometimes you just get beat. And that's what more often than not I see. This looked lazy. The passes over the top of that 1-2-2 were lazy. One of them got picked and run out for a dunk. They had a 10-second violation. Just lack of urgency. That press can be broken pretty quickly. Get it to one side, whip it to the other side once the point man comes over, and the guy who catches the second pass busts it up the floor. It's really not even supposed to force turnovers. It can, but it's really just supposed to slow you down so that you run the shot clock down. You have less time to operate your offense. But LSU looked lazy. It was really, really poor getting into their offenses. Then when they got into the front court, I didn't see enough effort to get the ball to KJ. Now, I understand Matt McMahon said in the postgame they were doubling him. I get the whole thing. Throw him the ball. Throw it to him at the high post. Throw it to him on the block. Make A&M go guard him. That is your best offense at this point. Miller's finding it a little bit. Hannibal has his spots. Cam Hayes has shown a little bit of a bright spot here and there. But your best player is KJ Williams. He's got to touch the ball. And they did not do a good enough job of forcing the ball to him. He took 3 shots in the first half. One of them was a 3 that he just basically rushed up because he hadn't touched the ball in long enough. And that is exactly what Texas A&M wanted. They wanted you to go slow, turn it over a couple times, not get the ball to your best player, play over the top of the defense. That's exactly what their game plan was. And LSU, I did not think, countered it whatsoever. The other side of this is it's a make and miss sport. And in a game where TCU, that's on my screen up there, Texas A&M wanted you to shoot from the outside and not allow KJ Williams to assert himself in the game, those things happened. But those things could happen and you can knock down some shots. LSU couldn't knock down any shots. They were awful in the first half. 6 of 25 at one point in the first half. That's 24%. Couldn't make threes, couldn't make tough twos. Just the offense was totally bogged down. And then you call a timeout right before the half to set up your final possession, and you dribble and you dribble and you dribble and you dribble and run the clock, and then you get pushed out near half court. The result of the possession was a Cam Hayes step back three. I'm quite confident that is not what Matt McMahon drew up when he called that timeout. But once again, the offensive execution, very, very poor. Very little sense of urgency, no execution, and A&M in that instance got exactly what it wanted, a tough, rushed three. Everything that A&M wanted, they got. In the first half, LSU was 4 of 14 on twos and 4 of 14 on threes. You got out-rebounded, lost the turnover battle. Points in the paint in the first half were 18-2. Just an absolute clinic on what A&M was trying to do, in LSU, again, with no answer. In the second half, the comedy of errors that LSU put out there, which had nothing to do with Texas A&M, was remarkable. Fountain has no idea what's on the shot clock. LSU doesn't get a shot off on one possession. It's right there above the rim. Right there. Or listen to the bench. They're yelling at you. No idea what's on the shot clock. Literally on one possession, LSU threw a pass that went between two LSU players, neither of whom was looking at the passer, and it went into LSU's bench. How hard is that to do? I'm not sure which one the pass was to. Neither of them were looking and went right by him. Not really going to give Texas A&M much credit on the defensive end for that one. At the 11:50 mark, Trey Hannibal misses a 3-foot little runner, which happens sometimes. KJ gets the rebound. He's all alone in the basket, missed the layup. Again, not going to give A&M too much credit for that. Aggies did whatever they wanted, especially defensively, but LSU was right there helping them out. It was so bad. So bad. And the result, again, was a 69-56 final. The defense was not atrocious. Now, A&M's not very good on offense, but the defense wasn't awful. A&M, as they would do, was a very poor three-point shooting team, just 4 of 16. It wasn't like they were blowing by you time and time again and allowing and getting to the free throw line. That's the biggest key we talked about on Friday was they shoot more free throws than anybody in the country. You cannot allow Wade Taylor and Boots Radford to parade to the free throw line. They didn't. Taylor shot 4 free throws. Radford shot 2 free throws. Their guards that have been limited at the free throw line didn't. And they didn't shoot a great percentage either. When you consider that A&M got 18 second chance points in this game. On their first shot defense, LSU only allowed about 55 points. If you cut their second chance points in half, down to 9, you allow 60. But you allowed them to get on the glass and own you on the offensive glass to the tune of 12 offensive rebounds that go for 18 points. That's, in some instances, lack of hustle, lack of effort, lack of intensity. It just never switched for LSU. It never flipped on. I never saw that jolt, that burst. Yeah, we're on the road. Yeah, we're not playing very well. Yeah, we're down, but here comes our counter. A&M just looked more aggressive, more energetic, and that's the only way Texas A&M can play. At times, I can maybe fall into some cliche or lazy analysis. Calipari's got a bunch of long, athletic wings. Auburn blocks a lot of shots. Alabama shoots threes and layups. The must-bus gets better as the season goes on. Like, you know, kind of the identity of programs. The only identity that Texas A&M has had under Buzz Williams is mediocre seasons and teams that play hard. You knew the only way they can win is to play really hard. And LSU went out there and let them play harder than them. Really, really disappointing. Again, like, your offense, 8 of 27 from 2-point range, 30%. Sometimes those days happen. But I wish the effort level would have been better. And the end result, 69-56 final over there at Reed Arena. You just heard Charlie in the last show, if you were been listening for a little bit, talk about the fact that this thing can snowball into a longer losing streak. And that's very possible because Bama's coming up. Tennessee's coming up. You got some really tough teams. You got Florida coming in tomorrow. It's a winnable game. But so is this game against Texas A&M. And the key is to just sock a couple away here or there in the beginning until you get to the end of the schedule. We know that at this point. And so LSU's not like off track at this point. This is a game on the road against a team that's pretty much equal to you, and you got beat because you played terrible and they played harder than you. So you're not like wildly off track. You didn't give one away here. But it was just disappointing the way that the game unfolded. To allow A&M to play harder than you and to do whatever they wanted to do is disappointing. So I'm sure Matt McMahon is disappointed. I'm sure practice yesterday was not a ton of fun. I'm sure it won't be a ton of fun today, but they do get a chance to go out there tomorrow against Florida on their home floor, and hopefully they can get back to 500 in league play. We'll preview LSU and Florida coming up tomorrow. Hour 1 off and running here. I wish there was a little bit better news coming out in the next segment, but we're going to talk about the Saints. And it didn't go so hot yesterday in the Dome. I guess the best news is that season is over. They've got an opportunity now to reset, get some guys healthy, and push off the dock for next season. We'll talk about the Saints and kind of what we were expecting coming into the season, what the results were. Get to LSU football, adding a couple of corners later in this hour, some SEC hoops reaction. Scott Rabelais from L.A. talking college football playoff at the top of hour number 2. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer.
Bayou Ford, check out that inventory, BayouFord.com. They've got your new cars, they've got your used cars, and they've got your Black Widows. Black Widows are so cool. Check out the website. They've got a tab there that says Black Widow, and you can't just find these everywhere. You got to have a specified dealership. And Bayou Ford is an exclusive SCA performance dealer, which means your SCA truck can be purchased from the largest SCA performance dealership in Louisiana and one of the largest in the country. Check out the inventory. That may be exactly what you want. If it's not exactly what you want, they can customize a vehicle for you. Call Ben Gagne and his crew. Say, we heard about you on the Hunt Palmer Show. Tell me about customizing this vehicle. They'll get it ready for you, and they can turn around the vehicle that you want, whether it's the F-150, the Explorer, Expedition, Focus, Mustang. They can do it, and they can turn it around in 60 to 90 days. BayouFord.com is a website. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That sunshine.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m.
NFL Wild Card Weekend. Tune in Saturday when the 49ers host the Seahawks at 3:30 p.m., immediately followed by the Jaguars and Chargers at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Dolphins at noon, the Vikings host the Giants at 3:30, and the Bengals host the Ravens at 7:15. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Make up your mind. This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints wrapped it up yesterday with a stinker. That wasn't very good, was it? Put up 7 points against the Panthers. Got beat on a walk-off kick. Saints finished year one of the Dennis Allen era. And I just got to thinking, kind of visiting the August talking points we had. And we understand that the Saints were moving on without Sean Payton for the first time in 16 years. And you understand that you're living in a life without Drew Brees, and you're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. And year one without Brees was injury. I mean, you had Ian Book out there at one point. You kind of get a pass. Okay, let's set this thing up and push forward. And the entire point of the Saints going with Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael was to keep the band together as best as possible and move forward. And so, you know, as I looked at it, I looked at the Saints division. I said, look, I don't think the Bucs are going to be as good. They've got injuries in training camp with their offensive line. Brady's a year older. They've lost a couple pieces on defense. Okay, I think that it's reasonable to think they could lose some more games. Does anybody think the Falcons are going to be good? No. Does anybody think the Panthers are going to be good? No. So the Saints have a realistic chance in this division. Some things have to happen. And this is what we were talking about in September. Let's see how that went. All right, Dennis Allen's got to sit in that chair. He's got to run the show the way that Sean Payton did. Not exactly fill in Sean Payton's shoes, but Sean Payton is an elite-level coach. We think Dennis Allen has had a head coaching experience. He's seen Sean Payton at work for years now. This is going to be a really good spot. I would say that was not a passing grade. No good. Pete Carmichael going to come in there, run the offense the way Payton did. You've got some weapons there. Let's just keep it moving. Well, they were 22nd in scoring. It was the worst since Sean Payton showed up. So I would say that didn't work out either. Well, Jameis Winston, he's going to be the franchise quarterback. Threw for 5,000 yards, threw for 30 touchdowns. He's going to sit in there. He's got to take control, not turn the ball over, which he didn't last year before he got hurt. He's going to be the franchise quarterback. He's not. He got hurt. They quit on him. He never played again. Fail. Trevor Penning, we took him. You know, we're going to let Hurst be the left tackle, but Penning will step in and eventually become the left tackle, and Hurst will go back to that swing role. That makes us the best we can be. Well, Penning gets hurt in training camp, in the preseason, and then doesn't play. Then he comes back in the last game of the season, and it just got announced about an hour ago. He had a Liz Frank injury. He needs surgery. 2 major injuries for your rookie. He didn't become the left tackle. That's a disappointment. But Michael Thomas is coming back. He's going to be an elite-level receiver. We paired him with Jarvis Landry, brought in Chris Olave. We now go from a wide receiver core that was running out there with Deontay Hardy and Marquez Callaway and whoever else last year to now one of the best wide receiving units in the NFL. I said that out loud. Wait a second. Jarvis had 272 yards on the season and a touchdown. Mike Thomas had 171 yards and 3 touchdowns and didn't play again, and now they've restructured his deal so they can cut him. I would say that didn't work out. Well, let's look at the defensive front. We got Marcus Davenport. We got Peyton Turner. Those two guys are going to have a breakout. They're going to stay healthy, breakout years. Davenport had more ejections this year than sacks. 1 ejection, no sacks. And Turner played 7 games. Had 2 sacks, both against Vegas. That didn't work either. Now, certainly, there were some positives. Rashid Shaheed looks like a really nice piece. Chris Olave had a 1,000-yard year just about. I thought you saw some really good things from Alontae Taylor. Those are 3 guys. Those are guys that you brought in this year that are cheap, that did play well. So it's not a total loss. You did win 3 games late. Dennis Allen did have a defense playing great football the last month of the season. Those things happened. But man, it's tough to give Dennis Allen a passing grade when you lose so many games close late. Tough to give Pete Carmichael a passing grade when you were 22nd in the league in scoring. Jameis Winston, you've quit on. Trevor Penning got hurt twice. Michael Thomas didn't play and is going to get cut. Jarvis was hurt most of the year. Marcus Davenport was a bust. Peyton Turner couldn't play either because he was hurt. It's just thing after thing. And still, with that, if you would have gotten that first down against Tampa in the fourth quarter and run that clock out, you'd have been playing for the division in the last week of the season. Even with all that, that's how terrible this division is. But every single talking point, major talking point that we had back in August, you look back at now 6 months later, 5 months later, and you go, no, that didn't work. And so now the Saints brass is going to come together. And you got Gail Benson, you got Mickey Lunis, Jeff Ireland, you got Kai Harley. You get this group together and go, how do we do this? Well, Dennis Allen spoke to the media today. He expects to be back. I expect him to be back. I think they're not going to be the Texans, who are being laughed at throughout the NFL by everyone right now because they can't keep a coach longer than 12 months. That's not what the Saints are going to be. They're going to stick to their guy, try to give him the resources in year 2 to get it done. In my opinion, they got to go find somebody to run the offense. Pete Carmichael can stay on staff. Maybe he wants to be in the support role. The report was he didn't even want this job. He liked where he was. Said, no, we want you to do it. I lost Steve Ensminger. Said, yeah, I'll do it then. But you got to go find somebody to run that offense. And I was just texting with the buddies yesterday. Put out a poll. There's 10 people in our group text. Said, all right, who do you think the Saints quarterback's going to be next year? I gave the options of Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, Jimmy Garoppolo. And the vast majority, realistically, think Dalton is the leader right now. That is so deflating, I think. To me. Now, do things get interesting if Sean Payton wants to move into a role with the Broncos or Cardinals? The Cardinals have the 3rd pick. Is that something that works? I don't know. Charlie talked about it on his show, said, look, Sean Payton took the Cardinals job. Kyler Murray's not going to be there until Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's year 1. I don't know that you want to be so nearsighted about it, but I understand not want to jump into a situation where there's a quarterback who's not able to play. But, man, if in a rosy world, I could paint you a scenario where Sean Payton takes the Cardinals job, where the Cardinals owe the Saints that 3rd pick, the Saints pick C.J. Stroud, and all of a sudden you want to talk about a shot of life. In the same way that if Andy Dalton were the starter going into the season, I personally would think that was boring and kind of depressing. You told me you could go get C.J. Stroud, all of a sudden there's a little juice there. But it was just, it was a botched season in every way. Injuries, close games, tough decisions, franchise-altering things that moving forward, short-term deals for veterans. It just didn't click. And in the end, you lose a game to Carolina where Sam Darnold had like 4 completions with like 2 minutes to go in the game. But the Saints got a fortunate situation late in the game, couldn't move the ball forward. Lutz misses a field goal. He had his worst year as a Saint. And then, of course, Darnold does make a throw over the middle. Terrace Marshall gets going up the gut, and Pinheiro knocks it through, and the Saints go home sad. And that's what they did far more often than they went home happy this year. So that's a wrap on the black and gold. We'll certainly talk to Sharif Ishak tomorrow, kind of about his thoughts on the totality of this season. We'll certainly talk with Luke Johnson on Thursday, his thoughts on what has transpired. They'll have some more interviews over the next couple of days. What's Cam Jordan's future? What's Marcus Davenport's future? What's Tyrann Mathieu's future? What's Andy Dalton's future? All those things very, very relevant in the term of the New Orleans Saints, and we will certainly talk about them over the next few days. Still lots to get to today. Some happy news. Hey, kind of been a little bit of a downer there for 26 minutes of this show. LSU basketball gets trounced in College Station. Saints wrap up a dreadful year, but LSU continues to add in the transfer portal, and now we can kind of take a look at what this defensive secondary can look like. I'll give you my thoughts on that coming up next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Football fans, call your own plays during the NFL playoffs with FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. Because when you bet the same NFL same-game parlays from now through January 16th, all customers get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose. All you got to do is place a bet of a total of $20 or more on a same-game parlay or same-game parlay plus during the wild card round coming up this weekend. The more you bet, the more you get back in free bets. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine bets for a chance at a larger payday. You can bet quarterback passing yards, running back running yards, anybody to score a touchdown. You can build your own same-game parlay or choose one of the popular same-game parlays that's pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. If you're new to FanDuel, you can get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose, when signing up with the promo code 1045ESPN. That is promo code 1045ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Bonus issues, no withdrawable free bets. Expires 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana Loyal. Always.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR. Presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping Saints Panthers, and we're previewing the national championship game with Georgia and TCU. Join us Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We knew that LSU was going to have to get busy in the transfer portal trying to find corners because everybody left. That's the point. When you have a numbers issue at corner and you go fill it with a bunch of very old players, they leave. And then you have a hole again. You got to go get some more players. But LSU has done that. If you missed the news over the weekend, LSU picked up basically 2 commitments at corner. One is locked in. Deuce Chestnut was an All-American and an All-ACC player at Syracuse. He comes in after 2 years up there in upstate New York. And then J.K. Johnson from Ohio State. I don't know that that's been made official anywhere, but he changed his whole Twitter bio to LSU stuff, and he was visiting over the weekend. So it lends itself to believe that you could think he's going to end up in Baton Rouge. So now you look at the corner room, and LSU is in pretty good shape. You've got Denver Harris, who you feel like was a 5-star recruit, was on some midseason All-American lists at Texas A&M before he got in trouble. He's on one side. Deuce Chestnut is very likely a starter corner, in my opinion, based on the film that I saw and the accolades that he got while he was at Syracuse. I feel like you could look around and say, okay, Zy Alexander, you brought in from Southeastern. J.K. Johnson, you bring in from Ohio State. He was a top 50 player in the country out of high school. Played in every game for Ohio State this past year. Was not a starter, but he's played 2 years of college football at Ohio State. You got Seven Banks. You got Latarian Welsh. You bring in Javian Toviano and Jeremiah Hughes in this class. Sage Ryan played in the nickel some for you. I think that Greg Brooks can play some nickel for you. So that's the numbers right there start to stack up. Denver Harris, Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, J.K. Johnson, Seven Banks, Latarian Welsh, Javian Toviano, Jeremiah Hughes, Sage Ryan, Greg. That's 10 guys I just rattled off. I need 4 of them to be players. And all of a sudden I've got a secondary. And the good news with these transfers is there's a chance they could stick around a little bit longer. Johnson and Chestnut both played 2 years at their previous school. Denver Harris only played 1 year at his previous school. Toviano and Hughes are young players. Welch is a young player. So I don't think, now anything can happen this era of college football. Guys can move on. Guys can decide to go to the draft. They can enter the transfer portal. Shakeup is inevitable and always possible. But it feels like your numbers look a little bit better with young players at corner. I love the way that LSU recruited corners over the last 15 years. Everyone does. It was the best operation in the country in terms of recruiting the cornerback and safety positions. And they churned out pros at an unbelievable clip. And they won Thorpe Awards. And they won championships. And they had first rounders. And it was awesome. And in this staff changeover, when Ed Ogeron moves out and Corey Raymond moves on and Brian Kelly comes in and all of a sudden McLaughlin and Ricks transfer out and your pipeline is bare. It was going to take some time to get that back rolling. Hopefully, this is a step in that direction. So, again, I think if I just had to guess, this is purely a guess. Again, I don't have any inside sources. I haven't talked to any coaches. I haven't read any press clippings. just looking at pedigree, experience, age, perceived talent level, I think LSU starts with a secondary that's got Denver Harris on one corner, Deuce Chestnut on another corner, Greg Brooks in there, Major Burns, and maybe Sage Ryan, maybe a Seven Banks, maybe Javian Toviano, who's an early enrollee. But that looks pretty good to me. And that's not even mentioning Zy Alexander, not even mentioning J.K. Johnson, not mentioning Jeremiah Hughes, LaTerrence Welch. So I think you've got the high-end talent. Chestnut was a really solid performer at Syracuse. Harris is a really, really highly thought-of player. Toviano really thought you've got the high-end talent. You've now got the depth as well. And you should put a pretty good unit out there. Whenever we start talking about the next LSU football team, we'll do that in the spring a little bit, and we'll certainly do that once media days roll around in July and in August when they report to camp, and we start talking about it. One, LSU is going to be thought of as a very, very talented team with some high expectations for the first time in 3 years. And most of that is going to be because the offense returns almost everyone. It was a pretty good offense this year. Just about everyone's back. And that makes LSU a high-profile team. But the fact is, you're rebuilding the defense. I went through the numbers on this last week, and we kind of got it figured out. Gay, Ojulari, Roy, Baskerville, Jones, Bernard Converse, Fouché, Ward. I mean, there's a lot of guys moving on from that defense. So you're going to have to rebuild that. And the numbers were pretty much immediately supplemented on the defensive front. You got Lee, Shan, Swinson. You had some guys coming back. Wingo with Guillory. And you got Wiggins. And like you've got, you immediately supplemented your numbers up front, but the back end still needed to be addressed. And I think they've done that now. When you had Denver Harris, Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, and J.K. Johnson, and then signed 2 corners out of the high school class, that's 6 guys, and that's what you had to do. And I think it's been pretty roundly applauded. I don't pretend to watch a ton of Syracuse football. That doesn't come up a lot for me. J.K. Johnson didn't play a ton at Ohio State, and I wish he did. But Bama pulled in a corner from LSU who was an All-American, and he never got on the field until Thanksgiving. So I think this is really good. I think that they're in a really good place in the defensive backfield. I think they've added talent. I think they've added depth. I think they've added young players who could return, and now the pipeline looks more natural. It was always going to be a 2-year reset once you brought in the guys you did. You lost your top 2 corners. You filled them in with seniors. Those guys are going to leave. You're going to have to backfill. They did that. I think the staff deserves a ton of credit for that. And I now think that this team on paper looks to be very, very good. And I've pushed back a little bit when Moscona in his show has said, look, I think this is going to be the favorite in the SEC West. That's not going to be the case as long as Saban's over there. People are just going to default to that, and they probably should. But I do think that as I personally look at this team and I say, okay, what does this look like? I can make a strong case that this is an SEC championship contender. They may go 8-4. I think they can be considered an SEC contender when you look at the depth, when you look at the talent, you look at what they bring back. Yeah, I think that this looks very, very good. So I thought yesterday very, very positive for the LSU football program with the additions of Deuce Chestnut and J.K. Johnson over at corner. I think LSU's in good shape there. I want to catch you up on what's coming up in hour number 2. To close out hour number 1, we'll do a little bit of SEC basketball reaction. I got some more thoughts on what the heck went on in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on Saturday. Scott Rabelais is in L.A. at SoFi Stadium. We'll chat with Rab about the college football season. We'll preview tonight's game and might ask him a question or two about the LSU women's basketball team as well. I've got some thoughts on the game tonight between Georgia and TCU. Just got asked who my pick was in the Bayou Ford chat. I told them who my pick was in the Bayou Ford chat, and they said, great, let me go bet the other side. I don't hate that plan. I think that's a fine plan. I think that's, if you're looking at money management, that may be the way to go. And then we always have some take it or leave it and some NFL in the end of hour number 1 on a Monday. So come back with us to close out hour number 1. Hour number 2 is when the NFL stuff. Hour number 1, SEC basketball reaction. That's next.
This is on Palmer.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. And all January, we're pumped to tell you about Hunters for the Hungry. Since they started in 1994, Hunters for the Hungry has expanded throughout the state. They partner with all 5 major food banks in Louisiana. They've got some great programs that they do every single year. Their freshly harvested game program allows hunters to harvest a deer and drop it at one of the partner processors all around the state. And that processor is going to handle the preparation and packaging, drops it off at the community food bank or the shelter. There's no cost to the hunter for this, and the processing fee is covered by Hunters for the Hungry. So they're just trying to take what is a huge passion here in Louisiana in hunting and fishing and use that to help those in need. And they've done it just tremendously. There are only over 900,000 resident hunters and anglers in the state that contribute to the sportsman's industry, and that supports nearly 24,000 jobs, making an economic impact about $1.6 billion annually. Hunters for the Hungry, a great champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, whether it's a nonprofit or some person that's doing great work in our great state, go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions. Nominate somebody to be a champion of Louisiana like Hunters for the Hungry, who we're telling you about all January long. Hunters for the Hungry, January's champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity.
Join us for a special national championship edition of Game Time. We're at City Slice Pints and Pizza Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. They kick off at 6:30. Lots of in-game opportunities for you right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you listened at the top of the show, you heard me talking LSU basketball, and I wasn't in a great mood about it because it didn't go so hot on Saturday. But I do realize that LSU's football team just won the West. Baseball's ranked preseason number 1. The women's basketball team beats everybody by 60. So there's a lot of good going on in Baton Rouge. We don't focus everything on men's basketball. That does happen in Lexington, Kentucky. They focus everything on men's basketball. And right now, it is not pretty. Did you see what happened in Coleman Coliseum on Saturday? Alabama 78, Kentucky 52, a 26-point beatdown that it was not even close ever. And it's on the heels of Kentucky not playing well against Missouri a couple of weeks ago. Not playing well against LSU and just winning a 3-point game when they were a 10-point favorite. They played UCLA, scored 53 points, and lost the game by 10. They played Gonzaga, got mauled, lost by 16 points. Played Michigan State, gave up 86 points in that game, lost it by 9. When they play the good teams on their schedule, they're not winning. And when that happens, the natives get restless. And they certainly get restless when you go into Coleman Coliseum, you shoot 29% from the floor and lose by 16. Kentucky loses sometimes. They don't get outclassed very often. Bama outclassed them. Missouri whitewashed them. Gonzaga hammered them. And there's starting to be some rumblings. Now, I'm just listening to the media. I don't know anybody in the Kentucky athletic department, but Matt Jones is connected up there. And he's talking about, does Calipari want to go take this Texas job? You know, what comes of this? Because they're not good. Last year was the most embarrassing NCAA tournament loss in their program's history, losing to St. Peter's. 2 years ago was the worst record in the history of Kentucky basketball. It all fell apart. And it just hasn't been good. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said, look, they haven't been to the Final Four since 2015. That's too long. People start tapping their feet. The interesting thing is that he's got a loaded signing class for next year. Loaded. And I know they get 5 stars every year. This one looks to be as good as they've ever got. Do you just sit out and wait another year? Because this team right now doesn't look like they've got, and it's not like they don't have pieces on this team. You got the returning National Player of the Year. You've got a guy who led the SEC in assists back-to-back years in Xavier Wheeler. Casey Wallace is going to be a first-round pick. Livingston was a 5-star. Jacob Toppin's an NBA pro. They had no answer for Brandon Miller, who had 19. Other guard, Sears, the Ohio transfer, had 16. They got smoked. So it's going to be interesting up there in Kentucky. They're a little tired of Cal, the fan base is. Now, you start winning some games this month and go beat Tennessee in Knoxville or something, and people start to figure it out. Okay, get back on the bus. But big picture, they're cranky in Lexington, and that's interesting. When the LSU baseball job comes open, that's interesting. When the Alabama football job comes open, that's interesting. When Kentucky starts looking at its basketball coach going, when was the last time we were in the Final Four? Our record's what? We did what last year in the NCAA tournament? The year before that, our record was what? And all the answers are bad? I'm not suggesting he's getting fired come April. I don't think that's going to be the case. But things are not good in Lexington right now. They're good in Knoxville and Tuscaloosa. The Tennessee 85, South Carolina 42. South Carolina is woefully bad. Tennessee put them in a vice grip. They scored 21 points in both halves. South Carolina did 42 total. Tennessee's defense is for real. And I'll tell you this. In the middle of February, Tennessee and Alabama play. That is going to be probably the most high-level basketball game in the SEC this year. Those two teams are legitimately good. I like Alabama better. I think their team is better. They're really good on defense and they're really good on offense. Tennessee has its issues offensively at times, but they're always good on defense. And that shows up every night, and they put South Carolina in a sleeper hold on Saturday, won at 85-42. I told you on Friday I thought Arkansas would go down to Auburn and win. Auburn had a few tests. They hadn't passed any of them. That Arkansas would go down there and get it done. They did not. They didn't even score 60 points. 72-59 was the final in that one. Arkansas, 2 of 16 from three-point range. What did we talk about when Arkansas came to Baton Rouge? They can't shoot. We had Andrew Hutchinson come on this show. He covers Arkansas. He was at the Liberty Bowl with all the porta potties, remember? And I said, they don't shoot very many threes. And he goes, yeah, Eric Musselman said it, like, we can't shoot. They can't shoot. That is a fatal flaw. They've got Black at point guard, who is great. Council has been awesome all year. I love Jordan Walsh's game. Was watching him in the PMAC when LSU won that game. He was great, really start to finish in that game. Mekhi Mitchell's a tough forward. They've got good players. They can't shoot, and that is going to be a fatal flaw for them. Because you got to get it in the basket, and Arkansas just does not do it consistently enough. And Auburn played well. Jonai Broome gives you 10 points and 10 rebounds. Willie Green, who they've got to have, Wendell Green, who they've got to have play well, had 19 points. And they got 18 points from Flanagan off the bench. But I thought this was going to be a game where Arkansas would go down there and kind of establish it. It's not there. And they were bad at this time of the calendar last year and kicked it into high gear, and they made the Elite Eight for the second year in a row. I'm having my doubts about this one because you've lost Brazile for the year. Smith, I don't know if he's going to come back. And all of a sudden, that ridiculous nucleus we thought we were going to have full of talent is just not there. And when you can't shoot, it becomes real difficult. So Arkansas goes to Auburn and gets beat. Really nice win for Florida over Georgia. Georgia had played well. Mike White's return to the O-Dome, and Florida beat them 82-75. That's a Florida team that's coming here tomorrow, so we'll preview the Gators on tomorrow's show. But you'll see Alex Fudge, who you're familiar with. You'll see Colin Castleton, you're familiar with. And they've got kind of a whole new cast of characters. Remember earlier we talked about Tyree Appleby is at Kansas State, is at Wake Forest, where when LSU played them, he had moved on. They've kind of retooled their backcourt as far as guards go. But you'll remember Colin Castleton. He gave him 34 minutes, 12 points, 8 rebounds in the game, and they played really well and beat Georgia, who had been playing better under Mike White and had a really nice win against Auburn. So pretty good win there. Egg Bowl on the hardwood. Ole Miss has got issues. They're 0-3 in the league now. They went to Mississippi State, got beat 54-64. Ole Miss has lost to Tennessee, Bama, and Mississippi State. They got Auburn coming up. Then they got some games they can win with Georgia and South Carolina. But I just think that this is looking kind of ugly for the Ole Miss Rebels at this point. That's a game LSU should really aim to win down the line because Ole Miss is not very good. And then the game that shocked me with what the score was Vanderbilt and Missouri. Missouri could not stop Vanderbilt, but Missouri's offense is good enough that it got them home. They win an 85-82 game against Vanderbilt. Missouri plays one speed. It is fast and it is fun, and they score a lot of points, but their defense at times is not great. They got their offense rolling at such a good clip that they could run away from Arkansas, but from Kentucky. But Arkansas came back and beat them. They ran away from Kentucky, but they were in a dogfight with Vanderbilt on their home floor, which they should not have been, but Missouri does get the win. So that's a look back at what we saw in Southeastern Conference basketball over the weekend. The story in SEC basketball right now is what to make of Kentucky. And it's just very uncomfortable up there right now. Now, they got a layup coming up against South Carolina tomorrow. They should win that game at home. But then they go to Tennessee. And if you go to Knoxville and get beat by 25, get beat by 17, are not competitive, score 49 points, the noise is just going to get louder. That's just the nature of that program. And Cal knows that. But right now, they don't have any answers. And to get totally outclassed by Bama was a wild thing to see. So that's your look at SEC basketball over the weekend. If you missed anything in hour number 1, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. There's an on-demand tab at the top. You can find my name. All the shows archived right there every single day. Or if you like to get your podcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcast, we're right there as well. Type in The Hunt Palmer Show. You can find it. We're always on YouTube, where we upload every single full show every day. We also cut up a couple segments every day and put it in there. If you subscribe to our channel, you'll get those. We always appreciate that. Those of you in the Bayou Ford chat, throw us a like, subscribe to the channel, rate, review, all that good stuff on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We always appreciate that. Helps get our content in front of as many people as possible. We opened the show talking LSU and A&M basketball over the weekend. Gave our Saints season reaction at 1:15. LSU added a couple cornerbacks in the transfer portal. We went over that at 1:30, and then SEC hoops to finish out hour number 1. Hour number 2 coming at you fast and furious. Got a lot of storylines from the NFL yesterday. What are the Texans doing? Big time stat from Mike Tomlin. Pete Carroll, chilling moment up there up in Buffalo with the kickoff return. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll also finish with take it or leave it. But when we come back, Scott Rabelais is going to join us from Los Angeles. He will be at the national championship game in SoFi Stadium tonight. I want to get his thoughts on that, as well as maybe a nugget on the women's basketball team as well. And I'll give you my thoughts on Georgia and TCU, a little betting angle with that, and who I think is going to win the football game. So we'll do that in hour number 2. Come back with us after Sports Center. You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 here on a Monday. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. We'll head out to the left coast. Scott Rabelais of The Advocate, covering the national championship game over in SoFi Stadium, joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Scott, how are you?
Hello from rainy Southern California.
What?
It's it's raining, man. It's they're getting this. They're freaking out, out here. It's raining. Oh my goodness!
It's like when one snow flurry falls here and we shut down the entire city. Is that kind of the situation they're running through over there?
Similar, of course. Rain here leads to landslides, which that can be kind of bad. But I'm on the rainy Santa Monica Freeway right at the moment. San Diego Freeway. Sorry.
Well, stay away from the landslides if you would. You've covered these even when LSU is not there. I always wonder about the travel and about the attendance. You've got a semifinal a week before. These far away. I mean, LSU playing in New Orleans, we can get there. But these games in Santa Clara and then this one over all the way in Los Angeles for teams in Georgia and in Fort Worth. I figure TCU will turn out pretty good. They got direct flights like crazy out of Dallas, and this is maybe a once in a lifetime for them. But what about Georgia? What about TCU? What are the crowd do you think going to look like tonight?
Well, I understand it's kind of a soft ticket market as you'd expect. The game in Santa Clara 4 years ago between Clemson and Alabama was, you can see an empty seat or two, here and there, and I think that made it tough. It was like the farthest combined any two teams to travel for the championship game, and this isn't much different. I think TCU, being that it's their first time here, and in the back of their minds, they got to be wondering, when will they be back? So that I'm sure that's good. Georgia has the advantage of having played the Peach Bowl in their backyard. I mean, they don't have to go anywhere for the SEC championship game or the Peach Bowl, the semifinal with Ohio State. So it's a challenge. I don't think they'll ever go back to the Bay Area with this game, but this is more college football country with the Rose Bowl and USC and all that. So I think they'll probably be back here at some point. But the next 3 championship games are in the SEC footprint. They're in Houston and Atlanta and Miami. So we'll see where it goes from here. But I think one day they'll be back. But it's with the weather and everything. Yeah, it might not look like a jam-packed house tonight. We're gonna have to see. I haven't seen a lot of fans here. I will say that. I've not seen a whole lot of fans out here from either team.
You've spoken with coach. Well, we've been in press conferences, coaches, players. I would imagine. You tell me what's the demeanor of the team and the coach has been like.
Sonny Dykes, the DCU coach, he's a lot looser than Kirby Smart,
Yeah.
who's one of the more uptight coaches you will find in anywhere in any sport. But I think they kind of reflect his demeanor. Their players seem pretty loose. We were at the media day on Saturday downtown, and that was pretty. They seem to be enjoying the whole thing, and Dykes is he's a little bit of a character. I think pretty good. I mean, TCU, I think there's a lot of confidence there. I think they kind of feel like they weren't expected to do this. They weren't expected to be here, and they were picked 7th in their conference in preseason. And I think they're kind of feeling like a little bit of a team of destiny at this point. And I could see them winking across Georgia at the line of scrimmage tonight. It's kind of make Georgia nervous, make them they're the team with a lot to lose. But I would say the Georgia players are a little more businesslike. They've been here before. Obviously, they've been in a lot more of these big games. So I think that part's a little different. But it's I think overall both teams will handle the pressure pretty well.
Do you feel any differently about TCU than you did before they kicked off against Michigan after that game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I didn't expect them like everybody else. I didn't expect they were going to beat Michigan, and they ran the ball on them. They had a pick six, 2 pick sixes, right, in that game. So they probably have to do some of that. And of course, Max Duggan has to be exceptional for them tonight, running and throwing the ball. Their top running back has got a sprained MCL, so he's very questionable. At best, he's not going to be 100%. So that hurts the cause for TCU. But it's I do. I give them a better chance to win than I would have expected beforehand, because I thought Michigan I thought Michigan could maybe win the whole thing, and here's TCU. So
this is a sport that I say all the time. There's haves and there's have-nots, and there's a reason why you can pretty much identify the 6 or 7 teams that can win the national championship before they ever kick it off. Now, TCU would not have been in that 6 or 7 that you would have picked preseason to be in this position to maybe win a national championship. How good is that for college football?
I think it's good. I mean, I remember I was looking back at the history of the championship game. It's like Alabama beat Clemson, Clemson beat Alabama, I remember asking Dabo Swinney, and he naturally took offense at the press conference in Santa Clara. I said, "Is this good for college football that you guys are here every year?" And obviously, he wasn't. So I expected he wasn't too thrilled with that question, but I enjoyed asking it. It's good. And look, the football playoff is expanding after this coming season. So it's this is going to 12 teams. And look what we've seen in the last 3 years with Cincinnati making the playoffs last year, with Tulane having the season they did, and Cal's own Trojans in the Cotton Bowl, and now TCU making all the way to the final. Obviously, at least one team, and TCU, you kind of have to stop and think. They are in a Power 5 conference, but they're just not a traditional power. And so I think you're going to see more traditional powers. It's going to be hard, to win 3 games and get, to go all the way from the first round all the way to the final. But yeah, I think it's good. I think we want to see some. Everyone wants to see their own team in it, but I think everybody wants to see some different things, teams going in it.
What's on the line for Stetson Bennett tonight as far as his legacy goes?
Yeah, it's a pretty good legacy already. I mean, obviously, a guy no one expected to be in this position. He's mentioned for the Heisman, a walk-on player. He can, Georgia. They've had some really good quarterbacks, but anyone that you really call an all-time great, I don't know. But I mean, if he wins 2 national titles, he's the man. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you win back-to-back national championships when Georgia had only won 1 before last season, and back in 1980. That's pretty remarkable. So I think he becomes the guy. I mean, does he get a statue outside Sanford Stadium? I don't know, but maybe they bury him one day when he's old and pass away. Maybe they bury him next to Uga. With the Ugas.
Uga couldn't fly across country. Too old. Couldn't bring Uga. They said too old, can't fly that far. I think maybe New Orleans might have been doable. Certainly Atlanta's doable. They couldn't get Uga to SoFi Stadium. What kind of game? What do you think the style of the game is tonight? How do you think it unfolds?
I think TCU's got to get off to a quick start. They can't fall way behind. Georgia, they don't overwhelm you. The Stetson Bennett's thrown for 3,800 yards. They don't overwhelm you with they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher, don't have a 1,000-yard receiver. They just keep coming at you and coming at you. And TCU's got to match that intensity and try to run the ball and try to throw the ball. Georgia's got to. Everybody's like, oh, their defense is really good, and it is. But they've given up a lot of passing yards in the second half of the season, including those 502 yards to LSU in the SEC championship game. So I think TCU's got to come out and set a tone early with the run and the pass. Obviously, it's a lot on Max Duggan's shoulders with Kendre Miller being hurt and at least not 100%. I think there's a good chance he doesn't play. So I think early in the game is important for TCU to show Georgia that they're here to play, that they're not going to be intimidated, and that they can go toe-to-toe with them. If Georgia gets out to a 14-3 lead, I think it's going to be very tough for TCU after that point.
You got a pick?
I picked Georgia 34-24. I'll go with what I had in the paper. I think TCU can cover but not win. But I don't think I would be shocked. This would be the biggest upset, obviously, in the national championship game, and everyone loves an underdog unless you're pulling for the team that's the favorite. But it's hard not to go with Georgia. They're just a relentless team, and they just seem so confident. And they've barely thrown in a clunker this year. The Missouri game, and was probably their worst game, and they still managed to win that one on the road. So. I'm going with Georgia, but you kind of like to see the underdog. It'd be a better story, obviously, if TCU wins.
I did want to ask you before while we had you. I've gotten a couple of questions in the chat, and I think it's just because of the lopsided nature of these scores. The women's basketball team is starting to catch some eyeballs around here, and I think around the country as well. You've seen them as much as just about anybody. How much are you buying this LSU women's basketball team right now? We know the non-conference schedule is not tough, but they're laying waste to some conference teams now.
Yeah, they went on the road and won over the weekend at Kentucky, and 16-0 now is the best start in school history. They just went up to number 5 in the AP poll today for the first time since 2009. That's pretty rare territory for LSU. I still don't know quite how good they are. I think they've got some warts and deficiencies. They turn the ball over a lot. They're not the best outside shooting team, but they've got baseball. You got to be strong up the middle. Yep. They're strong up the middle in basketball where it counts. They got a great post player in Angel Reese. They got a great point guard in Alexis Morris, and they got some good complementary pieces with LaDasia Williams and Flau'jae Johnson and players like that. I don't think it's a Final Four team, but I think they're not the team you'd be happy to see them in my bracket. But all that said, it's kind of a weak schedule, and the SEC's kind of down. But they could be undefeated going to South Carolina on February 12th. That would not be totally out of the realm of possibility.
That would set up a big one between two coaches who I don't know exchange Christmas cards all that often. Scott, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the game and safe travels back home.
Thanks, Hut. Take care.
That's Scott Rabelais of The Advocate. I just saw some incredible news on ESPN's ticker there, so I'll divulge here. Damar Hamlin has been released from the hospital. He is back in Buffalo. That is fantastic news to hear. I did not know how far along. I know obviously the news has been very encouraging over the last couple of days. He was watching football and tweeting yesterday, so for him to have been released and headed back home is just incredible news. So that is awesome stuff. When we come back, I'll give you my thoughts on the college football playoff national championship game between Georgia and TCU. I'll give you my pick as well, a little bit of NFL to come a little bit later. Hope your Monday's going well. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
On 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. Go to onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall, his team, been in the business for 3 decades. You do anything for 3 decades, you're pretty good at it. David Duvall and his team, the best in terms of bathrooms and closets. If you've just got a ton of clutter in your closet, got a ton of clothes, can't find anything, shoes all over the place, let David Duvall and his team come in there and help you at One Bath and Closets. They start the process with a questionnaire. They say, okay, what do you have? What do you need? Here are our suggestions. This is what we can do. And then they start the process. And I can promise you they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. If you tell One Bath and Closets, David Duvall and his team, that we sent you over at 104.5 ESPN, he's not going to charge you to rip out your current closet or the installation for the new unit. All you're going to pay for is the unit itself. It is that easy. what could your bathroom look like? Let David Duvall and his team come in there and do it. One contractor, one bath and closets. David Duvall and his crew, the best in the business. Go to onebathandclosets.com. Check out the testimonials. Check out the options that they have for you. See what can fit your budget and what you can make work in your bathroom or your closet. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. Onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
NFL Wild Card Weekend. Tune in Saturday when the 49ers host the Seahawks at 3:30 p.m., immediately followed by the Jaguars and Chargers at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Dolphins at noon, the Vikings host the Giants at 3:30, and the Bengals host the Ravens at 7:15. Right here on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Low stress college football national championship game for me. It's been like 15 years. I've got Auburn in there I got to pull against. I got Bama in there I'm supposed to pull against. Florida's in there I got to pull against them. That's stressful. I don't like that. Tonight, I'd prefer it if TCU won, but I don't care if Georgia wins. Whatever. I know we recruit against Georgia a lot, but it's not a team that's on our schedule every year right now. I don't have the built-up emotional investment in Georgia that I do in Auburn or Alabama or Florida. I'll tell you this, and people don't believe me when I say this, and I'm not even trying to brag. I just made the decision. When Bama played Clemson in Santa Clara, I didn't watch the game. It's like I'm tired of trying to keep Alabama from winning national championship games. It doesn't bring me any joy. They usually win. That's terrible. I don't want to hear Saban talk. I don't need to see it. I don't need the shakers and the rammer jammer. I don't have to do it. I'm not going to watch. I don't even know what I watched, but I wasn't. But I was getting text messages, and that's the game, as you'll remember, that Trevor Lawrence and Clemson just wiped the floor with Alabama. So I think I turned on late in the fourth quarter. But I was tired of it. I don't want to watch it. And I think that people say, oh, of course you watched it. I really didn't. I don't like watching Alabama play football. It does not bring me joy. They win far more often than they don't, and I spent 10 or 12 years watching them and pulling against them. It was not fun, so I decided I'm not going to do that. And I don't have to worry about that tonight. I'll turn the game on. We're going to cook some dinner and let the best man win. And that'll be the case tonight in SoFi Stadium. It's TCU and Georgia. Let's make no mistake. The talent gap here is massive. Georgia's got way more pros, way more 5-stars, more depth. They've been more dominant. They're better than TCU. But I give TCU a chance tonight. I do. I'm not one that would say Georgia's gonna beat them by 3 scores. They may. It won't shock me at all. But I give TCU a chance because, as you've heard me say a lot, you heard me leading up to the SEC championship game. You heard me leading up to the semifinals. The only way you're going to beat Georgia is to attack them on the outside offensively and score enough points to beat them. You can't hope to run the ball and shorten the game. You can't hope that they're going to turn it over a bunch. You've got to just go get them on the outside. And C.J. Stroud did that, and he put them in position to win. They were a kick away from winning it. But that's what you got to do. And Max Duggan's capable of that. He's got some receivers that can make some plays. Quentin Johnson had the long 76-yarder against Michigan. They ran the ball well against Michigan. They ran it for 263. DeMercado had the 69-yarder, but he ran for 90 other yards. Duggan ran for 57 more off schedule when he needed to. And Michigan's defense is good. And they could not stop TCU in the second half. Now, I'm not going to count on TCU getting 2 pick sixes. That's probably not going to happen. But those guys did make those plays. But it's going to come down to this TCU offense and Max Duggan to do it. They can. I'm just going to have to see it to believe that it will happen. This Georgia team is so tough on the interior. Their quarterback is so mentally strong. They were on the ropes against Ohio State. That's a good Ohio State team they're on the ropes against, and they just didn't flinch and came back. And one of the things that has kind of emerged here over the last couple of days is that we thought of Georgia as a team that didn't have weapons on the outside. It was a tight end-oriented passing game because Bowers gets all the credit and Washington's a monster. But A.D. Mitchell has emerged. That's a name that I didn't know until we had Jordan Hill on before the SEC Championship. He said, I think he's going to play. He's good, and he's been good. He had a huge play in the semifinal. They've now got some guys who can make big plays for them on the outside. TCU's corners made some really big plays against Michigan. McCarthy gave them a shot, and they did it. I think Quentin Johnson is the key for TCU. He's been Max's go-to guy all year long. And Georgia's susceptible to the throw a little bit. That's the only way to get to him. Bryce Young beat them through the air in the SEC Championship game last year. And C.J. Stroud just about did it. I think Duggan has got enough talent to do it. But right now, I just don't know that I can pick TCU. I think they keep it close. I think they cover. But I think in the second half, the dam will break. And Georgia will get that late touchdown. The cover may have to come through the back door. And Georgia stretches it to 18, and then TCU gets a touchdown late. But I don't think TCU will quit, and I think they'll hang in it. What's on the line tonight? Gotta be the only time that a coach that had a statue got removed and the guy they brought in within 2 calendar years wins a national championship. I don't think that's ever happened before. That's what Sonny Dykes could do. They put a statue up of Gary Patterson, asked him to leave. He went to Austin, and then they bring in Sonny Dykes. He might win a title. And then for Stetson Bennett, I think to become kind of an immortal. Not that breaking a 40-year title drought is not making you immortal. I don't think he's on Herschel Walker's level in Athens yet, but you win 2, that's pretty special. For Kirby Smart to start this into dynasty talk. Is he going to do over the next 15 years what Nick Saban did over the last 15? That's on the line tonight. And honestly, what's on the line tonight is a long-held belief that I've had. That this is a have and have-not sport. There are only 10 or 12 teams that can do it, and nobody else can. If Georgia wins this game tonight by 28 points, that point stands pretty well. If TCU wins it, I got to rethink my inks, I think. Because TCU would not be in the haves. Playing a little bitty stadium, playing what I would not consider a Power 5 league almost. I think they benefited greatly from the 2 flag-bearing schools in that conference being bad this year. I gave the Mizzou comp, them winning the East when Georgia was fumbling around with Richt. Florida had Muschamp, and they weren't any good. Tennessee was in the doldrums. And Missouri kicked the door down and got to Atlanta twice. They got blown out both times, but they did. And that's the comp I gave of TCU. Yeah, but the 2 schools that were supposed to be good stunk, so you were the best of the rest. But if you beat an undefeated Michigan team and you beat Georgia, you kind of disprove that theory a little bit, don't you? And the part of it that still holds up is that they're in Texas, and you can get a lot of good players in Texas, even if you're working off the scraps from A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, and Bama. You can get a lot of players because there's a lot of players in Texas. But TCU would not be a have, and if they could get this done, beating 2 of the Blue Bloods, that would tip my theory on its head. I'm excited to watch tonight. If it gets away from TCU, so be it. I'll flip over to Food Network or something. But I don't have to worry about it because there's no Bama, there's no Auburn, there's no Florida. No A&M, for goodness gracious. I got the Frogs up. I'm pulling for them, but I don't see it tonight. I got a final score of 31-24. I got the Dogs getting it done tonight in SoFi. We'll be talking about it tomorrow for sure. When we come back, crazy day in the NFL, crazy weekend in the NFL. If you missed the news that I just talked about in the previous segment, Damar Hamlin been released from the hospital in Cincinnati. He is already back in Buffalo, safe and sound. So wonderful, wonderful news coming out there. But there was a ton going on in the National Football League over the weekend. I will give you my thoughts on some of the headlines next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from our Corvell Toyota family to yours.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping Saints Panthers, and we're previewing the national championship game with Georgia and TCU. Join us Monday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Nick Saban's in the national championship game. That guy will pop up on your TV at pregame show. Any game Bama's not playing in, he will show up. Actually, he's probably pretty good on TV, but I'm not listening. It's on mute. But he's there. So if you catch some pregame action tonight, you will likely catch some of Nick Saban. I wanted to go back and talk about the weekend that was in the National Football League, Week 18. I mentioned in the last two segments that Damar Hamlin's is back home in Buffalo, has been discharged from the hospital in Cincinnati. How incredible a moment was that for Nyheim Hines to run the opening kickoff back for Buffalo after that week? I mean, that is some crazy stuff. First time Bill Belichick has allowed a kickoff return on the opening kickoff for a touchdown his entire coaching career. That is nuts that happened. Just a really, really cool moment in Buffalo. Of course, all the Buffalo people pulling for their team, which is a normal thing to do. All the Texans fans pulling against their team, trying to keep the number one pick. That did not happen because Davis Mills on 4th and 1,000,000 running around. They get it. Lovey says, we're going for 2. I'm getting canned tomorrow. I'll be on the golf course soon. We're going for 2. And they get it. Then they fire Lovey the next day. That gives the Bears the number one pick, and the Texans back up to number 2. And I hear like, oh, you got to lose the game. You got to lose. Well, if you're going to lose the game, then you got to do what the Bears did and take all your players off the field and put in Nathan Peterman. Then you'll lose, which they did. You put your starting team out there, they're going to try to win. And they did. And all the Texans fans were so mad. And the Texans official Twitter account put on the tweet like, oh, we win, final score or whatever. And all the replies were like, why, you idiots? But the Texans don't do much right. And that's why they're going to have their third head coach in 3 years next year. You keep hiring coaches for 1 year with a bunch of bad players, probably not going to change much. But the Texans lose the number 1 pick. Mike Tomlin gets a win. Steelers have not had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. That's amazing. I predicted back in August, said this is the year they will have a losing record. And Tomlin, to his credit, did an unbelievable coaching job. Kenny Pickett got better and better and better. Matt Canada probably saved his job, scoring some points late. And the Steelers do enough to not have a losing season, which was incredible. So I got that prediction wrong on the Steelers. What I did not get wrong was my thoughts on the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick just thought, I'm the best coach ever. I got this figured out. Y'all don't say anything. We're going to have a great offense with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, even though they're not offensive coaches. That's not going to work. It was never going to work. Listen to these stats via Mike Reese, who we've had on the show a couple times. He covers the Patriots for ESPN. Last year in the red zone, the Patriots scored 39 touchdowns. This year, 19. That's down 20 touchdowns. They had 18 less trips to the red zone this year than they did last year. Last year, there were 39 TDs and 63 trips. This year, 19 touchdowns and just 45 trips. On third down, last year, 44%. This year, 35%, 9% drop. First downs, they had 80 less first downs this year on offense. Touchdowns went down 17 from 48 to 31. 17 less scores. Sacks went from 28 up to 41. That is 13 more sacks. They were just terrible across the board. And you've got a young quarterback you're trying to give your franchise to, and you strap him with a defensive coordinator and a special teams coach and try to coach offense. That was never going to work. And they took massive steps back offensively. That was so easy to predict. It's not that hard to hire an offensive coordinator. Just get one. There's lots. There's good ones, there's bad ones, there's tall ones, there's short ones, there's fat ones, there's skinny ones, there's young ones, there's old. Just find one. Not just some guys that you've had on the staff previously. Just give them the other clipboard. That was such a bad decision by Bill Belichick. It did not work. They got to shake something up. Shout out to Pete Carroll. They made the playoffs. They have not missed the playoffs in consecutive seasons since Pete Carroll took over in Seattle. Had to backdoor a little bit. Needed a little help from the Lions, who were like America's team, by the way. But they did make the playoffs, which is really impressive. And for the final piece of NFL news from over the weekend, I'm going to ask video producer Taylor Sharp to grab his microphone. Because, Taylor, I watched the Cowboys yesterday.
I watched the Cowboys yesterday too, Hunt.
It didn't matter much, but it was a little troubling. How troubled were you?
I was very troubled. Very troubled. I went to the gym to blow off some steam.
Sometimes you got to do that.
I started getting into a better mood, and then I get a text message from Mr. Hunt Palmer, and I'm in a bad mood all over again, so it wasn't great.
The text message was well warranted. I watched Dak Prescott drop back, throw a 5-yard out route that would have hit a cornerback right in the hands if he didn't fall over. And then on the next snap, he threw the same route in the same corner, jumped it for a pick six. It was like 93 seconds of real time. He should have thrown 2 pick sixes. It's not looking good. The turnover numbers, they're special.
Yeah, well, look, I want to give Dak the credit he deserved. Hunt, he set an NFL record yesterday, and I think he needs to be recognized for it. He's now the first player in NFL history to lead the league in interceptions, and he missed 5 games due to an injury. He threw 15 interceptions in 11 games. I just want you to think about that real quick.
That's
7 straight
good.
games now with an interception. I think it's actually 10 in the last 7 games. Most of them have been double pick games.
The telecast was hysterical yesterday because they kept saying, "What they got to take them out because they don't need to win this game, but they're trying to get some offensive rhythm going into the playoffs, and they keep going 3 and out." And the question's like, all right, well, do we try to send them back out there so they can maybe go on like a 60-yard drive? Or do we get them out so they don't get hurt? Well, we'll send them back up 3 and out. Okay, do we do it again? 3 and out. It was awful offensively. You don't feel very good going to the playoffs, do you?
Well, I already didn't feel good, but then I saw this morning that they're going to play Tom Brady.
They are.
And there's 0 chance that Tom Brady loses that game. So the season's basically over already.
They do have to go to Tampa, but the Bucs are not good.
Neither are the Cowboys,
Well, that's true.
And they're getting worse. Tom Brady had his best game of the season 2 weeks ago. Tom Brady's actually gotten better as the season's gone along. Dak's gotten worse for a year and a half now. He's terrible. He hasn't been good since like his 2nd year in the league.
Is he on a cheap contract?
No, he actually makes $40 million a year. As a matter, thank you for bringing that up. He makes $40 million a year. He's the highest paid player on the team by a wide margin, and he's awful.
Okay, well, that's tough. Tough for the Cowboys, but yesterday was just absolutely brutal for the Cowboys. That's kind of a look at the NFL. Excited to look forward to the playoffs. I am a little cranky when I saw the playoff schedule come out because I am an idiot. We've addressed this. I still have cable because I like that there's a guide and I know how to use it, and my internet's not that good in my house because apparently I live at the nexus of the universe, and I can't get quality internet to work in there. I've had 100 people come out. I've lived in this house for 8 years. People come out, yeah, it's just a bad, I don't even know what that means. But the internet's not that great. So the smart TV thing, not a great option for me. I have cable, and it works brilliantly unless AT&T and NBC can't come to an agreement, and I can't get NBC. Well, what channel do the freaking Bengals play on? NBC this week. So I got to make plans to watch the game somewhere. That's just the way it's going to have to be. I got to watch the Bengals playoff game. They're playing the Ravens. It's on Sunday Night Football, and I don't have the channel. So we're going to have to make some adjustments. But that's a me problem. I know I should have a smart TV. Should have YouTube TV or whatever it is. I should cut the cord. I know all that. I've been told a million times. I'm aware of the entire situation. I just pay too much for cable, and it works well unless I can't get NBC, which in this point I can't. So that's very, very disappointing. What's not disappointing is the Nola brothers helping people out. So join former Tigers Aaron and Austin Nola for the 2023 Strikeout ALS Bowling event. Nola brothers are teaming up once again to help raise critical funds and awareness for the fight against ALS. The 2023 Strikeout ALS will be held at Red Stick Social Thursday, the 19th of January, so in 2 weeks. It'll be from 5 to 10 p.m. You can purchase tickets at als.org/strikeoutals. That's, again, als.org/strikeoutals. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and get on down the road. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted
Us for a special national championship edition of Game Time. We're at City Slice Pints and Pizza Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. They kick off at 6:30. Lots of in-game opportunities for you right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up shop here on a Monday. Hope your week's off to a good start. Wherever you may be listening to us, however you may be listening to us, we certainly appreciate it. Looking forward to some football tonight. Georgia and TCU for the title. Gave my pick a little earlier in this hour. But we can't get on down the road until we do some take it or leave it. Taylor Sharp, fire away.
Still a little fired up from last segment, but yeah, we can knock this one out. After last night's game, wide receiver Jamison Williams asked Aaron Rodgers for his jersey. Rodgers replied, "Nah, I'm going to hang on to this one." Rodgers is keeping his last ever Packers jersey. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. I think it's very possible that he's done.
I'll take
it. I mean, it was pretty candid moment. I don't think it was like staged or any way at all. The cameras caught it. Jamison Williams walked up and was like, "Hey," and Rodgers was like, "No, I'm gonna hold on to this one." So, maybe he's just doing that as an insurance policy in case it's his last one. I don't sense Aaron Rodgers being that sentimental a guy, quite frankly. But I think there's a real chance that was his last one, so I'll take it.
Speaking of last games, J.J. Watt had a sack in his last game yesterday before retirement. His phone will ring next fall for a job opportunity in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
I will take that for sure. Now, what he does with that phone call is to be determined. He's still got some gas in the tank. He can still play a little bit, especially if you just want him to rush the passer. His phone will ring. I mean, Drew Brees' phone rang, I think, 2 years later when the Saints were looking for a quarterback. So Yeah, that's going to happen. You see Jason Peters is playing for the Cowboys now at tackle. See Drew Brees. We obviously know Gronk is the most famous here with just taking a phone call in October and showing up. I think J.J. Watt's phone will ring. I don't know enough about him to know whether or not he'll entertain that, but I do think there's a real chance that somebody wants him to come play next year.
Hunt's favorite sport. Colin Morikawa had a 6-shot lead entering Sunday, but could not hold off John Rahm's 10 under 63 at the Century Tournament of Champions. Morikawa choked. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it, unfortunately. Sorry, Colin. This is the easiest course they play all year. It's gorgeous, it's scenic, and it's wonderful television viewing, but it's a birdie fest. It's really easy. And, yeah, there was a great chance that someone from the back was going to shoot a really low round, but when you've got a 6-shot lead on a birdie fest course, all you got to do is go shoot 4 under and nobody can catch you. And he couldn't do it. He had not made a bogey all week, made 2 in a row on the back 9, and just he got to the 18th tee down 3. Rahm was incredible. He made a bogey on the first hole, then played the last 17, 11 under par, which was amazing. But it was a choke. Morikawa's got to finish that thing off. He was really dejected after the round. And in case you wanted more information about my NBC troubles, I missed 3 hours of this golf tournament because they were on NBC until they went back to Golf Channel and I could watch the end of it. But yeah, that was really bad. But as I talked about earlier last week, it's one of my favorite viewing things of the year on the niche side of things, that late golf in Hawaii, and we'll have one more week of it. It's there at YLI this week in Hawaii. But yeah, that was a choke by Morikawa for sure.
The New Orleans Saints now meet the criteria for being on Hard Knocks.
That's right.
Haven't made the playoffs in 2 years. Don't have a first-year head coach. Haven't been on the show in 10 years. Saints on Hard Knocks. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I would love it if the Saints were on Hard Knocks. That is gold in this industry for us to have that kind of access to behind-the-scenes Saints training camp when we're trying to pry everything we can from Luke Johnson, Sharif Ishaq, and Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill, and we're trying to get everybody we can to come on and see what they saw. If you could just get an HBO camera deal behind looking at some of the players that are looking to make the roster, getting some behind-the-scenes stuff, that would be awesome for us. I would love it. I think everybody around here would love it if the Saints were on Hard Knocks. However, I just don't think they're going to be for 2 reasons. The 2 of the other teams that meet the criteria are the Bears and the Jets. I think the Bears are very interesting. They've got Justin Fields. He's a second-year quarterback. They've got the first overall pick in this draft. They're very potentially moving out of Soldier Field out to a place in the suburbs, which is an interesting talking point with the organization. I just think, and plus it's a huge market, Chicago. I think the Bears have a real shot. And then the Jets, it's New York, it's the Jets. It's the ridiculous quarterback controversy that they're guaranteed to have all the time. So I think that they're more interesting. The Saints are, quite frankly, not all that interesting, especially if you start Andy Dalton and you've got second-year Dennis Allen. It's just not that interesting to the rest of the world. Not that the Lions are super interesting, but Dan Campbell's engaging, and you can sell it. I love Hard Knocks. I think there are a lot of people that don't. It's kind of played. It's the same thing every year. It's the music. It's the running through the sleds. It's the rookies singing. It's the one guy who might or might not make the team. That's kind of what it is every single year. But I just think it's interesting, and I would love it if the Saints could do it. The Saints have been such a perennial playoff team that they haven't qualified for it. But as you mentioned, those are the criteria. I want to see if I can find that tweet that has all the teams. I know that the Jets and the Bears are eligible for it. I want to see if I can find the rest of the teams are eligible. Oh, all the beat writers that I follow have been tweeting a bunch from the Saints press stuff today. So, yep, here it is. So it's Jets, Bears, Commanders, Saints, and Panthers, unless the Panthers hire a new coach. So if the Panthers don't keep Wilkes, it would be Jets, Bears, Commanders, Saints. I think the Saints are at least as interesting as the Commanders, but I think the Jets and Bears have a leg up there, so I think that's probably where HBO would go. But I would love it if the Saints got Hard Knocks for sure. That'll do it for an edition of Take It or Leave It. That'll do it for an edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. To look up there, Nick Saban's still chatting about the game tonight between TCU and Georgia. I gave my pick a little bit earlier. I've got the Bulldogs winning this one and taking another one home for the SEC. I think Kirby's going to go on a heck of a run here. And I think today is the start of some dynasty talk with Georgia, but we shall see. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. You can always watch us on YouTube. Appreciate you guys in the Bayou Ford chat hanging out with us. If you want to throw us a like, that means a lot. Get us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if that's where you prefer to take in your audio. I always appreciate y'all catching our stuff on demand. I opened the show talking about LSU and Texas A&M basketball. Just a dreadful performance by the Tigers, but they get a chance to rebound tomorrow against Florida. Gave my Saints season reaction at 1:15. That was not very positive either, but LSU did add 2 cornerbacks. We talked about that in the first hour. And I talked about how I really like the way the secondary is shaping up. I think it's going to be a pretty solid unit for him next year. SEC basketball reaction at the end of hour 1. Scott Rabelais did join us from out in L.A. He's going to be at the national championship game tonight in SoFi. He joined us to talk about the storylines that are going into the ball game tonight. So appreciate Scott for jumping aboard. I gave my thoughts on the national championship game at 2:15, and then at 2:30 we went through all the storylines from a wild week 18 in the NFL. None of that rolls off my tongue. When I try to get to the records at the end, when I try to talk about the week at the end, it's always week 17. You got to get the next one to week 18. We got there. Week 18 storylines right there at 2:30 at the bottom of hour number 2. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming at you tonight. Then we'll have the national championship game joined in progress after he goes final at 8 o'clock. Matt Moscona about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow to get ready for LSU in Florida and recap the national championship game. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.